ready?
Welcome back to Between Two Cheeks. I am Stacy Heller. I am the Brazilian curious undercover detective learning about Brazilians. I'm here with
Brooke Kennedy, and I am a master esthetician, oncology trained, and owner of Sweet Bee Hair and Skin Lounge here in Issaquah, Washington.
So in today's episode, we are talking about the history of bush. So we brought in an expert. We have with us historian Dr. JDK Wyneken.
Hello.
And we thought it would be really important to talk about the history of bush, to talk about the history of Brazilians.
Yeah, except I think I didn't prepare correctly. Now that I'm here and I see Brooke, I think I researched something a little different, I think, but maybe I should just give it a shot.
Well, yeah, I mean...
for example, George Herbert Walker Bush was the 41st president of the United States, elected in 1988, took office in 1989.
This is true. Nope.
But what did you tell him? Like when you messaged him to come on the show? Because I left that in your hand. What did you tell JD?
I said we're going to talk about the history of Bush, that we are going to go from back and front to time.
Which is why I started with H.W. Bush, and then I was going to talk about George W. Bush, the 43rd president, the son of the first president, the second father-son tandem ever elected president after John Adams and John Quincy Adams.
Nope.
And let's be clear, she didn't even tell you where you were coming.
No, she didn't, which might have been helpful.
That's why you went to her house.
That's right. Historians like to have all the information before they're asked to talk about it. Because the only other Bush that I've got is Anheuser-Busch, which started in 1852 in St. Louis, Missouri, developing Bavarian-style lagers. Or the London band, Bush, that formed in 1992. Chris Trainer's the famous... No.
Nope, you're out. Have a candy.
This is already not going on. Is there a candy?
What did you bring, Stacey?
I brought
We're winging
sweet
it now.
cheeks. I brought peach candies because what looks more like cheeks? Okay.
I'm just going to take a couple of cheeks. Seeing as we're just winging it now.
I like where he's sitting.
Well, right. He was going to mansplain what Bush is. So let's actually talk about this. So you just look cute.
So obviously I'm not as prepared.
It's okay.
So I'm not an expert on that kind of Bush historically.
I don't know why I thought this was a good idea, but...
There's nothing good I can say here. There's absolutely nothing good I can say here that's going to come out the right way.
It's going to come out.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
So...
I'm just going to eat my cheek.
Brooke, obviously you know everything that there is to know in terms of, giving Brazilian
Services.
So, what do you know about the history?
So that's what's funny, is that I have not really researched, but through hearsay, I learned that there were two sisters that came from Brazil to New York and started the Brazilian wax.
Okay. So, I actually researched this. So, Dr. Stacy Heller.
Why did you ask me to come? If you've already done this work and you knew what you needed to know, why am I here? And actually, I know why I'm here now. All right.
Right.
I know why I'm here now.
Right.
Good to see you, Brooke. Good to see you, Stacy.
You too.
Okay.
Anyway. So, he normally waxes poetic about things about history and poetry and all kinds of things.
Waxes.
You see what I did there?
I did.
Yeah.
And you know what? I thought you were coming to tell us about the history of Bush and Brazilian waxing.
So she didn't communicate with you about this. Okay.
No.
All right. So it's not just me. All right.
Again.
That's all right. We're all here to learn.
Stacy Heller, producer. So, anyway, it turns out that you are sort of right, Brooke.
Okay.
So there was a family that was Brazil-based, And the girls, there was actually 7 sisters, not 2.
Okay.
And they lived in Brazil, and they would provide services in their backyard. And in Brazil, it's warm. Your body is a temple. They're actually very proud of the physique. There's no shame about showing things off. And so these sisters started giving all kinds of treatments and manicures and pedicures and waxing and all this kind of stuff in Brazil. One of the sisters headed to New York, and she actually worked at a different salon, and she actually experimented with this concept, and it became a thing. It's
a great
thing. And so then the sisters started coming to the United States, and they started a salon, and it was, I think, the J Sisters Salon. And I mean, all kinds of celebrities would come to this place.
What year was this?
This was in the 70s into the 80s.
Okay.
I was and I had heard 80s into early 90s.
Okay.
So they came here to New York, not here, we're in Washington, but you get the point. And they did these amazing services, and it really took off. See what I did there? It's it just lends itself.
Every episode.
And so what's interesting is that actually the sister who owned the salon was contacted by the folks in the porn industry, which I'm like, is there a union? I don't know how that all worked. But in Playboy and Penthouse and whatever, there was a lot of landscaping. And
that's why it's called Hollywood.
Well, so they tried to basically say that the sisters had stolen this. And so the oldest sister actually, the whole myth about it starting in Brazil was because she said, we brought this from Brazil. This is something that culturally we did and whatever. So she was protecting it and saying, no, you didn't invent this.
Oh.
Right. So her little cover up to basically say, no, you can't come after us, was how it got started, that it was actually began in Brazil. But in fact, it started in New York. I mean, so many things started in New York. I'm a New Yorker. I started in New York.
It started as a thing in New York, like a business thing in New York, because they were doing it already.
And then they started their own salon,
Okay,
and
so
then
they monetized it in New York. It became a business in New York.
Yes, but they really did the first one in New York.
Right.
And I mean, think of it as the Carrie Bradshaw of Sex and the City, right? You get the one right person that finds out about this, and suddenly it takes off. It happened again. It suddenly takes off and becomes really popular. And so supermodels were going in, and people in the fashion industry and socialites, and it became this clean little secret.
So did they downplay the pain part?
Well,
Like,
it was all about the result, not the process? I would think you would have to.
We're
Yes.
here to explain the process.
Oh, okay. The results
speak for themselves.
I
Yes.
can't believe I'm here. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So that is how I mean, it's like the history of anything. It becomes a fad, and it makes its way across country. And, at the time, it was really, especially with models that are wearing skimpy clothing and, bathing suits and that kind of thing, it becomes something that so many people do. But now it's not associated with being this dirty little secret. It is quite the opposite.
It's my #1 selling service here at
Because
Stacy.
it's a big one, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's,
I can do minimum of 9 a day.
wow.
Mm-hmm.
Are there,
I do 5 to 12.
Are there industry stats on this? Like how much it's grown, or how many are done a year? Or
You can research for us.
well, if I would have known that, I could have looked that up.
Well, and what's interesting is in doing research for this, because some of us did research, I learned actually that
Not enough information.
Correct.
once upon a time, this was something for younger people, and that more and more, which we'll actually talk about in upcoming episodes, that more and more women that are older, that are in their 50s and beyond, are, they're really into it. They like the way that it feels. They like the hygiene angle. They like all of those things, which we're going to talk about the hair down there in the next episode. But I think that it's important to know the history of this. And I love actually the fact that it came from Brazil, because I know from that one trip to South America that I took, and seeing people on the beach and seeing the way that people embrace their bodies and the body confidence that's displayed in that country and other countries, it's amazing, and it makes so much sense.
Well, wouldn't that be the appeal, right? Is the confidence that comes with it. And so if it's associated with a place that is known for its confidence about, the human body, about sexuality, it would make sense that that would be appealing from a marketing point of view and from a results point of view. That's complete speculation on my part. Was that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
And you said appealing.
Okay.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
But we need to talk about. So yes, that's the history of the actual Brazilian service.
Yes.
But as far as hair removal, the oldest form of hair removal, the method came from the Egyptians. So sugaring, which is my passion, and a service that I love. Yes.
I learned about this too. I was
her
fascinated
research.
by this. So I was super gung-ho when I came in. I was like, did you know? She was like, yeah, I'm an expert in sugaring. Hello.
Wow.
So it turns out that this was something that was done way back with the ancient Egyptians, and that there was hair removal then, which...
really doesn't surprise us. Really? With the Egyptians?
And don't
No,
you wonder
It
with
doesn't.
inventions, like, who's the first person that thinks, I know, this is a good idea. I'm going to remove hair,
I always wondered that.
right?
Who's the first person to come up with something? But particularly that. Yeah, because you think about the hieroglyphs, they're not, everybody's all smooth and, and I don't know much about ancient Egyptian culture, but I don't think body hair was a big thing.
I don't
I
know that they
can't
would...
think of goatees or beards or anything like that.
Would you add detail like hair and hieroglyphs?
I don't know. You could. It would just be like little dots of paint, wouldn't it?
That's freckles.
I'm completely out of my element here. I'm just doing the best I can to contribute.
You're doing a great job. But actually,
Comic relief.
you shared that not only like sugaring, but things like milk baths and like, brows and...
Eyeliner from charcoal and...
That makes so much sense. Just based on common imagery of ancient Egypt, that makes a lot of sense.
Well, and I think it reinforces throughout time the history that, it's not what's happening on the outside that really matters, but it's how it makes you feel on the inside. And that's something that through society and culture has been really important. And, so apparently I need to get with that.
Do you, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I just love when clients come in and it's a very uncomfortable service and they leave here feeling confident, and I can take something that's uncomfortable and actually create an amazing experience. So, because usually the Brazilian clients are the ones that, back when we could hug, they're like, can I please just hug you? Because they come in scared and don't know what to expect and, a little bit of anxiety. And it's funny too, because they're the ones that are always the quickest to write a review as well about their experience and just how it made them feel and the process. And it's quite
I would think
awesome.
you'd have to really disarm people's anxieties when they come in the door.
Especially if
think
they've had a
that's-
horrible experience in the past, and they've been
Right.
burned or just what took place at the
Not here.
Specialize that. Yeah.
So talking about front to back, from the front person who sees them at the door all the way to the back to get it done, everybody knows how to handle that, I would think, right? You teach them, your
Okay.
staff, how to talk to them about
We
it.
always ask the important questions too, like, do you have tweaks with hair growth when they call in? And they're like, I'm scared it's going to hurt. And then just setting them up with the fact that we have no scream cream that helps for pain. It's topical benzocaine.
It's called no scream cream.
Oh yeah,
I think it's like Ambisol for your stuff.
This is a thing. Wow, that's kind of a
We're
big thing to know.
We're going to be learning actually in the next episode about what your stuff is called, because I'm just calling it your stuff at this point. So Brooke felt that maybe it would be a good idea for me to learn what your stuff is
what
called.
includes, or no, like what?
Right.
Sure.
So we're going to actually talk about that in the next episode. But I have a vision of it being like Ambisol. Like we used to put Ambisol on our kids' teeth when they were teething, and we would put it on our own gums because we were crazy like that. And we wanted to know what it felt like.
Wow.
So.
And it's literally called no scream cream.
I'll show you the
What a
bottle.
great name. That would make a huge difference for me, or if I was coming in, or if I knew someone was coming in, say, no, there's something that will keep you from screaming, that's probably pretty good.
And a couple of ibuprofen, 30 to 45 minutes before. That helps too.
Okay.
I'm not a medical professional, but it works for me.
Okay.
Speaking of, manscaping is a kind of
Yeah.
big thing right now.
Uh-huh.
Do you do any kind of manscaping services?
Not professionally. Yes, I do. I actually, what you do makes a lot of sense to me, not just from what you were talking about, but from a guy's point of view. I mean, I work out every day. I'm running around a lot. When I'm speaking, I sweat. That's not comfortable in, what did you call it?
Mansplaining?
The parts? What do you call it? That's
the stuff?
the stuff. Yeah, that's not comfortable in the stuff. And so it makes sense to me why services like yours would make sense for guys too. Mm-hmm. I can tell you that the pain thing for guys is a huge thing. Right? That's the biggest fear. Many probably won't admit it, but the very fact that there's no scream cream makes me go, oh, okay.
I might be able to do this.
Okay, but yes, I do some. Yeah, just because I'm a lot more comfortable that way.
The most popular services for us, as far as gentlemen, we have a gentleman's facial, which they love the massage and hot compresses, and just learning that it's important to care for your skin. And we do brow waxing, so sometimes just between the brows or a full brow wax, nose wax, ear waxing, and back waxing.
Wow.
So those are the most popular services here at Sweet Bee Hair and Skin Lounge.
Okay. I haven't done any stuff for my face, just like basic care for the face, lotion and that type of thing.
Nose waxing.
It would be big.
Is it
huge.
Outside or inside?
Yes.
We just do an overlay because you want to leave those filter hairs because it's important for your immune system. But you know how a lot of men will trim the nose hairs? I can remove them, which then will thin it out, and it's life-changing. My male clients say, I can breathe better.
You're taking the bats out of the cave.
What about ears?
Okay.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because ear stuff drives me insane. Like the nose stuff I get and the ear stuff drives me nuts. I didn't realize this was a thing. Wow.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So clearly we're going to have to talk about this in another episode. Manscaping. So we will do that. In the meantime, thank you for answering no questions and giving no context or history about Bush.
You're welcome. I have a feeling I served my role, though.
You did.
I think I did.
So, in the meantime, if you actually want to learn more about JD, you can listen to, he actually has 2 podcasts. One is Building from the Bullet Hole. The other is actually a live radio show that happens on Mondays. And you can also check out the podcast, which is The Show is All About You. Mm-hmm. Anything else you want to add?
No, and please go to my website, wordsbyjdk.com. I put in new content every Sunday morning, and there's links to a whole bunch of other fun stuff there, too.
I promise he is more knowledgeable than it seems here.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's really
such a great sport.
And for being between our cheeks.
That's why your position's there.
Okay. And I'll just blush on the way out. Okay,
perfect.
That's fine.
Have another cheek.
That's exactly. I'm going to have another cheek.
Perfect. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we will see you on the next episode of Between Two Cheeks. Thank you. Bye.